Who's good, potatoes? Spin the leak here, and I'm sitting on the floor again. I'm tired. I'm ready for bed. This area is all made out, and I watched 47 Meters Down yesterday. It's a 2017 film about shark attacks. Let's go ahead and just read this verbatim. With little oxygen left in their scuba tanks, two sisters are trapped in the shark cage at the bottom of the ocean, while great whites circle nearby. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think the sisters are vacationing in Mexico. A couple of locals encourage them to go swimming with sharks. They're in a cage. The winch snaps and they go falling down to 47 meters. They're left with very little oxygen, so at the depth they're at, uh, let's see, the tank registered at 200 bar, whatever the fuck that means, but whenever they woke up, the most oxygen one of them had left was roughly 85 bar, the other one was at 50. And they estimated that was about 20 minutes for the person with 85. So let's just say from the moment they fell to the moment where some, more interesting acts would have happened, they would have had roughly half an hour before they started suffocating. I'm surprised that they didn't really have to relieve pressure all that much at that depth. But it is what it is. I don't know too much about diving. I barely know anything about sharks. I just recall a couple of tidbits from my childhood, but even then, I don't know about the hunting patterns or territorial patterns or anything like that. Especially with great whites, I'm not too keen on that. I would like to start out by saying there are two sentences that could have made this movie go a very different way. One would have ended it. One would have solved the problem. The very first one. No, I don't want to go diving with sharks to try to make me look more appealing in the eyes of my ex, because that's what this is all about. She wanted to take pictures underwater, swimming with sharks, all the fish and all that shit, so she could try to gain, maybe reclaim the relationship that she lost with her boyfriend. That was one of the sisters. That's the whole reason that she was cracking on vacation and what led them to do this crazy shit. Okay, just word of reference. Someone leaves you, forget about them. There's nothing there. There was no connection, so just fuck it. There's definitely no reason to almost get eaten by sharks. Sentence 2. Fuck the winch, call the Coast Guard. So the winch snaps, and at 47 meters, apparently they're out of radio range. So in their little masks, their visors, what the fuck ever you want to call them, there's a radio that they can actually speak to the people on the ship through in order to check, how they're doing, what their air is at, so they know when to pull them up. They actually had to swim a full 7 meters in order to be in the radio range again. So they actually had to find their way out of the cage at the bottom of the ocean floor, swim through shark infested waters, just to get radio contact and let them know, yes, we're still alive, we're still down here, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, there's a lot of risk involved with very little reward. So they were going to hook up a backup winch, if they could find the cage, in the shark infested waters by sending someone else down there. Yeah, that was their first thought. Hook up the backup winch. No, don't call the guys that are equipped for this shit. Probably deal with this on a daily basis. Nah, just try to hook up the backup winch. Fucking bad plan. All in all, I'm just a fan of shark movies in general. It's always something fun to watch. The scenery at the bottom of the ocean floor, there were a lot of tense moments. It's been a while since I watched a movie that made me this tense. I did enjoy that. You couldn't see more than 5 feet in front of your face, and they did an excellent job capturing that with the sharks moving in and out of frame. You couldn't really tell when they were around, and a lot of times you were deafened after a certain point, just because sound doesn't travel that well in water. You could assume that they were feeling some sort of vibration at a specific distance, but the lighting and the overall feeling of it all, it was some pretty heavy stuff. It was rough to watch at points, but it did definitely keep me invested, and I loved it. The only thing I didn't really like is the bitchiness. The bitchiness. And when I say bitchiness, it was this overall just obsessive behavior with this girl's ex-boyfriend. That's what got her into the situation, and that's what she kept referencing and talking about while she's at the bottom of the fucking ocean. Her sister's low on oxygen, and they're being circled by sharks, and they have no idea how the fuck they're gonna get out of that situation. It's some rough shit. All in all, I will give this 4 potatoes. The acting was all right. The imagery was all right. There was a really weak twist. It was one of those moments where they literally said, "Okay, we're at this juncture. Here's something that could happen. This is why we didn't do it sooner. And my immediate thought was, okay, that's going to happen now. Guess what? Fucking happens. But nevertheless, it was a very entertaining experience. I would definitely watch it again. In fact, I thought about watching it maybe at some point tomorrow. So yeah, this is going to walk away with 4 potatoes for me. Definitely check it out if you get a chance. It's on Netflix. Give me a second to think about the spoilers that I actually want to talk about. Some of these are funny. Alright, this is the spoiler part. Hopefully everyone else who didn't want to hear this shit has left. I said that they were trying to hook up a backup winch. One of the guys that encouraged them to actually go swimming with the sharks actually had to dive down and deliver the winch. But he was also being chased around by sharks. There was this fun little game of hide and seek throughout the entire movie. You never know where they're going to come from. They're probably going to come from below, probably going to come from the side and maul your ass. This motherfucker died. Right in front of... What was her name? Lisa. That was the bitch who was trying to impress her boyfriend. Or ex. Motherfucker dies in front of her. She grabs the winch, swims over. This thing is fucking thin. This is... I wouldn't fucking tow a lawnmower with this. That's how fucking thin it was. Like, literally, boop. That's gonna hold up a fucking rusted metal cage with 2 human beings? No, thank you. That was doomed to fail from the get-go. The second thing, the big twist that they thought was gonna be amazing. You receive some sort of sickness if you have a high potential to get some sort of, gas-based poisoning if you switch out air tanks while submerged. I don't know if that is part of the depth or just, the environment that you're in. That's what they said in the movie. All right. And the thought is, it's a higher chance of it to happen whenever you switch it out. So the side effects include dizziness and hallucinations and erratic behavior. So guess what the fuck happens? First of all, Lisa's sister dies. Yeah, killed by a shark while she's carrying an oxygen tank for, her. And she watches it happen. She struggles to get the oxygen tank, hooks it up, and then immediately hears her sister's voice over her headset. That was probably the exact moment that I called bullshit. Because that motherfucker came from the side and took her head clean off. But, it's fine. At this point, she's pinned under the cage. Her leg is actually going through the bottom of the cage. And not only is the weight of the cage on the leg, but her entire body weight is shifting on top of her fucking leg. She cuts her hand open on a harpoon gun trying to get the air tank. So, that's one thing that's happening. Attracting more sharks. What the fuck ever. She's so frantic over hearing her sister's voice over the headset while she's saying that she's injured and it's getting cold and the sharks are circling. She's bleeding everywhere. She actually takes some sort of flotation device, some sort of harness or apparatus that they have that they can inflate and deflate at will to help with their buoyancy. She sticks that under the cage and pumps it up using her own air in hopes that it'll lift the cage up. She slides her leg out, cuts that up too, swims out, bleeding like a fucking stuck pig, finds her sister, who is bleeding like an even deeper stuck pig, grabs her, and decides that she's gonna fucking bolt for the surface. So she's swimming up as fast as she can with her sister, and apparently they're lighting flares to try to ward off sharks. Pretty sure that's not how it works. Pretty sure sharks don't give a fuck about flares unless you hit them with it, At a certain point, at a certain depth, they have to stop and take a 5-minute rest to even things out. Otherwise, I guess too much nitrogen is going to get to their heads and they're going to fucking die. That time is cut short. So they make a run for it. They're going up to the top, and Lisa has to continuously fight off sharks as they grab her. They continuously grab her, pull her back into the water. She fights to get back up. Whenever they're finally on the boat, first of all, Javier, his name was Javier. Javier dived in earlier and was ripped apart in front of us. He's on the ship, tending to their wounds. When the shark took off her sister's head, in that moment, the bite was on her leg, going straight on her leg. And before that, it seemed to be going straight up her torso. And while she's laying there bleeding out and they're trying to treat the wounds, Lisa looks at her hands and sees blood floating out of it up into the sky. That was supposed to be the big reveal. Surprise, she never escaped. She's still pinned under the cage. Wahaha. And I'm sitting there going, you guys tried too fucking hard at the end. It was a cool scene. It was a very interesting scene to watch. And it was an ideal twist if they didn't fucking make it so obvious. It's definitely worth a watch. Even with the information I give you, it's something worth seeing because it's a nice experience. And there is nothing worse than seeing her lose everything that mattered to her within the span of a day and being too fucked up to even realize it. The Coast Guard arrives, gets her free from the cage, and they're having to restrain her while they take her all the way up to the surface. Even whenever they reach the point where they have to rest and even out so that the pressure doesn't kill them, they're still having to hold her in place while she's trying to swim up. That, regardless of the spoiler or anything like that, regardless of how obvious they made the twist, that image right there, that alone is worth watching this movie. And I couldn't really give this as a reason of why I gave it 4 potatoes, before talking about spoilers. So yeah, no, that imagery and the fact that you don't always win, sometimes you can just survive. I was willing to give it 4 potatoes for that. Or anyway, have you seen this movie? What are your thoughts on it? Post in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, keep on, keep it on. I'll see you there. Oh yeah, and the other 2 movie reviews, I'm probably gonna rewatch those and upload them for this. I've been meaning to put them up there, but it's just I've been fucking exhausted. Anyway.